Hello, once again, name's Christopher. Just coming to you with another video. So also dealing with what we're currently seeing going on in the world. Some of the interesting things that are coming up here very soon. Matter of fact, one of the events that's going to be coming up is next week. I believe it's August 22nd through the 24th. It's the BRICS summit that's going to be occurring in South Africa. If you're not familiar with BRICS is a communal relationship currently between 5 countries, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And the whole purpose of this group is a financial exclusive group to benefit one another. Well, BRICS has been around for quite a while. I can't remember what exactly. I think it was like around 2011, 2012 when it, I think, originally formed. I didn't write all the immediate history down, but South Africa was joined a couple of years later. Anyway, these 5 countries have the main goal of disrupting the United States dollar, or the hegemony of the U.S. Financial grip on the world. And I say the U.S. financial grip on the world because right now the U.S. does have the financial grip on the world. We are the world's reserve currency, meaning every country has U.S. dollars. And there's a reason for that. That's because up until recently, within the last year or so, all oil purchases were done in US dollars. Hence the term, if you've heard of it, of the petrodollar. And the biggest worry is, while every country has bought into this and the agreements for security for Saudi Arabia and multiple other OPEC countries such as the United Arab Emirates, Oman, and others that were in Kuwait for that matter, and now Iraq, is the protection from foreign adversaries in those regions, and the United States provides that security, and they have for the longest time. However, once again, very recently in this most current administration, a lot of relationships got strained, if not completely severed. And in doing that, some of these countries have been working with countries such as Russia and China and India as far as purchasing oil in other financial avenues other than the US dollar. So, and that started causing a big stir, like, wait a minute, this doesn't typically happen. And usually when a country starts looking at selling off their oil in something other than US dollars, something tends to happen to those countries. Most recent one to kind of look at is Iraq. If you dig it far and deep enough, you'll see that at one point Iraq was looking to start selling all of their oil in the euro. And shortly after that, Bush 1 decides, oh, you're going to sell your oil in the euro? No, that's not going to happen. And yeah, later on, after 9/11 and Bush 2 is in office, you're looking at be going to Afghanistan after terrorist, and then it's like, oh, weapons of mass destruction and terrorist in Iraq. Yeah, let's go back in there and finish George Bush 1's job that wasn't completely completed by removing Saddam Hussein. And now that entire area is completely destabilized. So, and any oil being produced is not being sold in anything but US dollars. Anyway, so BRICS is about to have this summit, and one of the agendas, or one of the topics on the agenda that's going to be discussed is adding new members. And a couple of months ago, and I've been following this and researching it recently, And one of the agenda items is adding new members. And like I said, a couple months ago, they were looking at, and there was 5 members that were being tossed around at that point in time. And those members were Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Indonesia, and Argentina. Now, some people might be like, well, why would they add a couple of those countries? They aren't financially stable. But there would be very strategic reasons to add some of these countries to the BRICS. And it's not necessarily the fact that they're adding these countries first and foremost to be strategic or financial. It's the fact that if you read in Revelations and you're talking about the mystery Babylon who rides upon on a beast that has 7 heads and 10 horns. Well, people and the beast with the 7 heads and the 10 horns, they hate mystery Babylon and they're going to destroy it. Yeah, so if there's 5 members in BRICS right now and they add 5 more members, that gives them 10. So some people, and I'm not saying that's going to happen. They might only add 2 members. There's actually up to 40 countries right now that want to join BRICS. So are they going to add 5 more figureheads to BRICS? I don't know. That was what was being stated in the news a few months ago. But we'll see exactly what happens come next week. So looking at that, there are 3 reasons that I kind of mapped out once I looked at the 5 countries that I had just named. And they might add to other countries. There might be other reasons why they say, you know what, we're not going to add this country, we're going to add this other country because of some other reason. We won't know for sure until all the agenda items are discussed and acted upon. But looking at the 3 different countries, or the 5 different countries and the 3 reasons, if you look at Indonesia, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, I mean, you got oil, you got the oil or OPEC countries, you got a few of them already there, and some of the largest suppliers of the world's oil there. And if you're putting them into BRICS, which is an economic cooperative, all of a sudden, and you already have an agreement between Russia and China on oil purchasing, and now China is convincing Saudi Arabia to sell oil to China in China's denomination. Now you're going to bring them in to the fold. Yeah, that should be pretty worrying to everybody. The only thing that's really propping up the United States dollar is the fact that every country has to have it and has to use it to buy oil. Whether you like it or not, oil right now is what makes the economy of every country go around. Without it, you have 0 logistics. You have 0 production. You have a majority of your energy production is lost. Unless you have a gigantic reserve of coal in your country, like for fossil fuel power generation, or if you have huge amounts of hydroelectric or nuclear power, you might be okay. But for the majority of countries, they ship everything in for their power needs. And if you don't have oil, those ships aren't going anywhere. So if you control the oil, you can control a lot. But if you don't have the military to back it up, yeah, it's kind of easy for the United States to come along and say, yeah, we're going to change this relationship right now. But now you're adding China, you're adding India, you're adding Russia. And that can be worrisome, especially when you're adding, those 3 right there are all nuclear capable countries. And that leads down to the whole Mystery Babylon part. Mystery Babylon in the Bible, in Revelation 17, is going to be destroyed in 1 hour. And I will do a separate video on why I believe the United States is Mystery Babylon. Because everyone just looks at 17 on what John says what the prostitute of Babylon is wearing and everything that they sell and all that. And I go through and I'll explain all of that in a separate video. I did it in a live feed, but I'll actually do it in a video like this and upload it separately, because there's a lot of evidence on why it's actually the United States. It's not Rome, it's not the Vatican, it's not Babylon, which will be rebuilt into Babylon, but it is mainly going to be the United States, not just because of what you read directly from 17 right off the bat, but go and look at the 3 woes. The woes that occur for Mystery Babylon upon her destruction. And then go back and I will go through and I'll explain why, when it comes to Daniel's interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the statue, the last part, the feet of the statue, Daniel didn't say what empire it was going to be, but it was going to be the last empire before Jesus's return. And I will delve into why that is probably also the United States. Mystery Babylon and the feet of Nebuchadnezzar's statue are the same. But anyway, that's a different video. Let's go back to BRICS. So, oil and purchasing power of the commodity by killing off the petrodollar. That would be the number one goal for BRICS, because like I said, BRICS's ultimate goal is to remove the dollar from being the reserve currency for the world. And once that happens, the United States is so far in debt, the only thing propping us up is the fact that we are the reserve currency and oil has to be bought with our money. That should worry everybody. And then once again, like I said, that goes into the woes. We'll get into that in another video again. So back to this. So now, the second reason why it would be very advantageous for these 5 countries to be added to BRICS. 4 to 5 of the largest commodity and industrial countries for materials and rare earth elements are in those countries. You have Egypt, Indonesia, Argentina. Rare earth elements are huge. And there's huge mines in a lot of these countries where they're digging all this stuff up. And Egypt is probably the only one where I'm kind of cutting back. I mean, so when I'm talking about commodities, it's one, oil is a huge commodity, but you also have all your rare earth elements. So moving on, so you have that being added in, and that could also lead to why other countries might get added in over a couple of these countries, depending on the rare earth elements. But for the most part, I think one of the biggest countries right now is Afghanistan, because Afghanistan is one of the world's largest sources of lithium. And if you have any electrical devices, your phone, what I'm recording on right now, if you have watches, you have electric cars, you have any of that stuff, it all is powered by lithium. The United States was in Afghanistan. Messy pullout, get out of there. China comes in and says, hey, we're going to help you out. We're going to help build up your infrastructure. Taliban, we're going to help you out. We're going to do everything you want. Just let us mine your lithium. Taliban don't care about the lithium. All they care about is ruling everything that's going on in Afghanistan when it comes to their societal needs. China's like, yeah, we're not going to mess with that. Just let us get your lithium. So you got that as the second reason. Not the strongest reason, but it's the third reason that really could matter. And once again, it ties into the whole Mystery Babylon, at least to one of the woes. So by adding those countries that I just listed and the current countries, BRICS would control 6 of the 7 major sea commerce lanes. They would control the Suez Canal, having it on both sides. You have Egypt and Saudi Arabia. You have the Strait of Malacca, which is surrounded by Indonesia. You have the South China Sea, which China has already built up all the Spratly Islands and the paracels and militarized them. You have the Cape of Good Hope. You have Cape Horn. And you have, with Russia, with the ice melt and everything else, if anyone was thinking, oh, well, we can get, shipping traffic through there. You have Russia that controls the majority of the Arctic Circle. The only sea commerce lane that wouldn't be controlled, 2, I guess. One leads to the Suez Canal through the Mediterranean. So you ain't getting around the world just by going through the Strait of Gibraltar. However, you could get into the Mediterranean and back out. But the only one that wouldn't be controlled is the Panama Canal. So, but depends on the outside relationship they have with Panama. Otherwise, they would control all the other major sea lanes, where 95% of all commerce traffic occurs, that occurs on the ocean, goes through those points. So you have all their militaries right there. Good luck. Anyway, the biggest part of BRICS is the fact that it will, if they do this right, they could very easily destroy the U.S. economy by usurping the U.S. dollar as the petrodollar. When countries, and especially if 40 countries join into this bank and they're all treated fairly well in the way that they're able to make purchases and whatnot, and all of a sudden OPEC starts accepting all of this money, I don't think the United States is going to war with 40-some countries. Anyway, but who knows? There's, if these are the end days, the red horse comes along, chances are that's going to be World War III. So who knows? Who knows what the powder keg is going to be that sets it off? That's something still yet to be seen. There's a lot of things that are moving right now, and it's definitely interesting. One of the other things that has come up now, specifically they stated they weren't going to talk, it wasn't an agenda item for this BRICS conference, but it could occur in the near future, is that they're actually thinking about making a gold standard with the BRICS economic cooperative. And that could be extremely problematic for the United States. The last country that tried to formulate a gold standard was Libya. And you just have to look back not too long ago in the last decade what happened to Libya. So that was Gaddafi's, I guess, last mistake. So there is that too. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot going on, and that's, we're going to find out more here in the next week. Now, I'm not saying it's all going to be, ooh, and it all happened. Obviously, these are government entities that have to cooperate and formulate and come up with a plan. They have to add the new members. They have to figure out how that's all going to work. Then they got to figure out their way forward. So who knows how fast that will move. And then a month after that, in September, we have the UN Agenda 2030, where they are going to have a reaffirming of a 7-year covenant. So yeah, everyone's going to reconfirm to the SDG, or the Sustainable Development Goals, which are, there are 17 of those, that the UN is going to be getting every country to sign on to and then enforce it. So, and if you think, well, the United States would never do that, well, guess what? Joe Biden's already done it. He has already given them the, yeah, we're going to do this. You can look at the executive orders Joe Biden has been signing, and you can see he's already trying to implement these SDGs. So you might think that it's not going to happen, but it is right now. So I'm going to end this video right here. We're just a little over 20 minutes. Like I said, I'm just touching on these things. Go out there, do your own research, start reading about this stuff. Have your eyes wide open come next week, paying attention to what's going on with this BRICS summit that's currently going on. And yeah, it's going to be interesting. If this is the end of the age before the kingdom of heaven returns and Jesus comes back and wins, this is all going to take place. Yeah, so I'm going to leave it there. God bless y'all. If anything, hopefully y'all find Jesus, and if you already have found Jesus, keep passing the word. Share. Don't be timid, because now's the time to make sure that you're telling your friends, you're telling strangers, you're telling everybody, you know what, hey, just explore Jesus's life. You might be surprised. It might be something as simple as saying that to somebody. Even if you just change one person, get one, not even change them, but get one person curious, and they go and look for Jesus. But anyway, once again, God bless you all. Take care, and out.